You guys had some success late in the game on play action, even though you guys hadn't really established the run super well at that point. Just why do you think that those plays were able to work out well for you anyway?
Well, probably their commitment to stopping the run, right? They did a lot of things up front to make sure that, that we were going to struggle to get yardage on the ground, and we had to be better in the box and set it up a little better. But I'm real pleased because when you have that kind of defense, the opportunities to call those kind of plays, those play actions, if you will, they're going to be good. It's going to be one moment, and you got to capitalize. And a credit to our players, they did. They were able to execute the one moment opportunity in that game.
Andy, you got a guy like Quentin Skinner making some pretty incredible catches. The one falling down, of course, last week, but before that, the one that was tipped and he came back inbounds. And I mean, what do you call a guy like that who's just kind of able to make those plays, even if they're not really in script or whatever?
Well, a playmaker, that's what he was doing. I think when you look at the games that we're playing, and they've all been close, and having success, that's an overarching theme, is that you see guys who are showing up making plays. And I've talked to here before about being erasers, right? Okay, that's an example of racing. And I tell you, some of those catches that he had, and Luke had on the sidelines, and the accuracy that Jason had on some of those throws is big time. And we need that, right? And sometimes, football. Sometimes, as we've said to guys before, the best that we can do is put you in a one-on-one situation. Can we win? Right? Put you in a one-on-one situation. Can you win? And they were able to. So to him, to Q specifically, it was some big-time catches.
And you've talked so much about Beam's growth. He said after that game that he trusts those guys with his life. Do you think he makes a throw like that to Q, the one where he was falling down? I mean, do you think that's something he always had, would be willing to throw that ball up? Or?
I think that's a great question. I think it's a good indicator of where they're all growing together, right? It's a great indicator of what reps together look like, right, on Saturdays. It's a great indicator of what maturity and experience with one another looks like, right? You don't need to go on Saturday or Sunday after the film and say, hey, listen, throw that up to him, give him a chance. Because he's seen those opportunities in practice enough to know that that's the throw he needs to make. Coach Z coaching him, said, listen, we're going to do this. We're going to get one-on-one here. Got to take this throw. You got to trust it to win. You know what I mean? So I think it's a residual of practice and doing it over and over again, and being together and growing together.
Andy, on the play where Beam goes right on the option, drops back and finds Arnold, is that a play that you watch during a game and go, okay, this is going to be open at some point?
Totally. When you look at things and you look at run plays and the ones that you have schemed up, you know that you're like, okay, we're going to come back to that at some point. We just got to make sure that we hit it when we do. So yeah, we had been looking at it for the couple previous series and never got to it for one reason or another, and we got to it there and the kids hit it, so it was great. Big time.
When you watch Texas Tech, what do you see from their defense?
I see some multiplicity. I see some good size and length. I see a physical group, a group that plays relentless. They're going to jump in and out, some different fronts and coverages. So like I said, I use the word multiple a lot in here sometimes to describe defenses, and this is a great example of one. Been doing a pretty good job for the most part, in terms of keeping people in third and longs, okay, doing a good job in some situational football. Our hands will be full again like they are every week. I know I sound like a broken record. Sometimes I wish I could stand up here in front of you and say, well, this would be easy. I don't think I'll ever be able to say that. But they play well. You can tell that they're a year older, right? Okay, that they've been around. They've had the same coordinator for another year, and they know what they're doing. They're a little more sure of themselves, if that makes sense on film. When you watch them, you go, okay, they know this check, they know this front, they know this coverage, they know how they're going to line up to this formation. You can see confidence in how they're playing, and they're going to come in here swinging. For sure.
They do the three-man front with linebackers in the back, but how different is what they do to like what Iowa State tries to do with the way they line up and attack?
Yeah, so their base front only has typically two safeties on the field, right? And Iowa State's would have three. So it starts there, so you just take one guy out of the front and put him back there. right? They take theirs and move down front. So it's either going to be a 4-down look or a 3-down look, right, with different safeties spinning around. But to credit to them, they have the personnel to be able to do all those things, you know, at any given moment is what they're doing. So structurally, similar but different.
You talked about Jason's understanding what you guys do on offense, improving. How do you feel like the Iowa State game shows that in terms of just his decision making, passing the ball?
I think there are times in that game, and you've seen this before from him, where there's the right now decision. You know, bam, here's where I'm going to go with the ball. It's up. Let my guy make a catch. It's or he'll kept the play alive and he knew where someone was going to scramble. You know, trying to think of some other specific ones. The rhythm throws that he would have, you know, I think are very evident, that are necessary to show that growth mentally and then physically, right? And to, I guess, the other question, like the trust that, hey, this receiver is going to break here. He's going to be here. And I'm going to throw it there. You know, so you can see their experience and the reps together starting to show up, which is good. And I hope that we continue to get better every week as we're doing it.
You mentioned if people want to know something about a program, look at the offensive line. Just when people look at Dominic Cooney, what do you think he embodies about what you want to be as a program?
Strain, right? Being relentless when he's blocking. There's times in that game, even though we didn't run the ball very well, you can see him really just attack linebackers. You know, they have a really big physical box. They did. They were good. They were big and strong, and you can see him going in there and knocking around and doing it, playing fast, playing with decision. You know, decisiveness. So I think when you watch 67 play, I think that you want to see some relentlessness. Or that's what you would say, right? Obviously, from a technique standpoint, stuff like that, you know, doing things really well. But it's very clear that he's playing to help us move the ball.
Going back to Jason for a second, you know, against Iowa State was one of his most mistake-free games. Just what's the process been like of getting him to be more comfortable in those situations where in the past he's made some crucial mistakes?
Well, I think, you know, making sure that we do a good job in the week of giving him enough stimulus and practice of looks that he's actually going to see in the game, right? Because I think I've said here before, one of the things that Jason does a fantastic job of is he's very coachable, and if there's a mistake to be made, he will learn from it. And so, like all of us, right, you make the mistake first. And so he's starting to, you see fewer mistakes because he had made them before maybe in his life, right, or his career as a football player. But we want to set things up in practice to give these guys the hard looks to hopefully induce a mistake so we can correct it. You know what I mean? And say, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen when this corner does this. This is what's going to, you know, that's going to take this route away and do it. And so he's getting more and more reps of what we're doing. We're setting up more and more stimulus for him to have to respond to at practice, so that when we hopefully get out there on Saturday, it's not anything new to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the coach.
Okay.